Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to talk to you.
Me too. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you. Before we get started, can you just pronounce your name for everyone so that there's no confusion about how to...
Sure. Kathy Koltin Blumenfeld.
Excellent. Thank you. Before we get started into some other questions about you, just some background information first. Can you tell me a little bit about where you were born and, who your family is?
Sure. So I was born in Milwaukee and went to school here in Madison and graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I live with my husband, Michael, and we have 3 adult children. One is going to graduate from the UW this year. One is a second-year law student at the UW. And the third is working out of college already and working in a startup. So we're excited. It's really nice to have everyone here in town. And my family is still in Milwaukee and a little in Chicago. And my husband's, almost his entire family is here in Madison. So there's lots of Blumenfelds around.
That must be nice for family gatherings.
It is.
Can you tell me, how old are you?
I'm 55. So.
Okay. And I know a little bit about your job history, but can you tell us a little bit more about who your last employer was and where you worked the longest in your career?
Absolutely. So my last employer was TASC, which is a third-party administrator over by the Madison Airport. And I was really, really fortunate. After I left CUNA Mutual Group, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, TASC had won a federal contract to modernize the Combined Federal Campaign, which is the workplace giving program for federal employees so that they can give through their payroll or through a credit card to charity and make it very convenient to give to charity. And so TASC had bid on the contract and actually won the contract, but didn't necessarily have anyone to lead the contract. My oldest son happened to be working there at the time and said, "Mom, this would be a really cool job for you because I've always been very active in the community." And I was actually kind of looking for something philanthropic. I was thinking about a career change. And so the timing and whatever, the stars were aligned and was able to get a job leading the federal contract to help build systems for the federal government, help run call centers, help lead the contract management for this federal contract. It was just a wonderful opportunity. And so we built systems, we got everything all stood up, and it was really just wonderful to be able to facilitate giving over $100 million to charity every year. So it was just a great opportunity, and I learned so much, and it's really a wonderful company.
And what were you doing before that?
Before that, I worked at CUNA Mutual Group. So I was there 26 years, believe it or not. And I got to do many things within the I'll say 4 walls. There were more than 4 walls, but of CUNA Mutual Group. I started my career doing asset liability management consulting for credit unions. So I'm a CPA by trade, and got hired to help credit unions all over the country. It was right after the savings and loan debacle, where many savings and loans went under, helping credit unions restructure their balance sheets to help protect them from large spikes in interest rates up or down. And so that was just an amazing experience, and really was able to help credit unions become more safe and more sound in their practices. And so at the time, though, I was young, and I was working with, I was probably in my mid-20s and working with boards of, people that were in their 50s and 60s, and I felt like, wow, I really need to get some more credibility. Here I am talking to these boards and C-suite people and didn't have credit union experience. So I decided to run for my own credit union board, and that was quite an experience because I was kind of discouraged to run. And thinking that, at the time it was a state employees credit union, and I wasn't a state employee at that point in time. I had been. And they already had their slate kind of picked for their next board of directors. And so for me, that was a challenge, right? If someone says no, then I'm going to be, oh yes, I'm going to do it. So I showed up and I had a big speech prepared, and I looked at, the asset liability management of the organization, and ended up winning, like coming in second place out of 5 people, and ended up serving on the board of what is now Summit Credit Union for 10 years, and actually was the chair at some point. But that experience really helped me in my job working with credit unions, because I could see, real life what was going on in credit unions and learn best practices. And so that was a really fun part of my career. And then went on to do strategic planning. A lot of times when there were areas of the organizations that were struggling, they would send me in and say, go fix this business. So I spent a lot of time moving around the organization. And then ultimately ended up leading 4 lines of insurance towards the end of my 26 years there. And it was our largest book of business, and really helped turn around the business to make it very profitable. So it was a really exciting career, and again, another amazing organization, CUNA Mutual Group. So, and before that, I was a CPA, so that was really a fun experience as well, because I got to go travel from business to business, and you spend a couple weeks there doing an audit and really learning the ins and outs of an organization and what their business models are and seeing what their challenges is. So that broad experience really helped me prepare for the rest of my career. So anyone that's thinking about an accounting degree, I'd highly encourage it. It's just a wonderful start and can be a wonderful career for anyone that's interested.
Speaking of your accounting degree, which university did you go to, and did you get any additional degrees after your bachelor's?
So I went to the University of Wisconsin. Kind of a funny story. I knew I wanted to be an accountant since I was like 15. So in high school, I took every accounting class that was offered in high school, and then got to take college level classes in high school. Came here and got a big jump start on my accounting degree, and it was in my freshman year I got a call from a friend who was an intern for Senator Proxmire. And he said, he was panicked, and he said, oh my God, the other intern didn't show up, and I'm the only one here today. Can you come and help me out? So I went, and I thinking I would just go for a day and help him in the office, and the other intern never came back. So I became the other intern, which was kind of a big reason why I think I'm here today. So that internship took me to DC to work in his Washington office. I got to work for a governor. I got to be a Senate page. And this is all while I'm going to school. So I think I fell in love with state politics, state government, and at some point my junior year I went home to my parents and announced to them that I was giving up my accounting degree because I was going to major in political science. And my mother, who is just, an amazing role model for me to this day, she laughed at me and she said, Kathy, you're not giving up the accounting degree. You can add political science as a double major, but you are not giving that up. And for some reason, I actually listened to my mother, which, at that age, you don't always do, but I did. And I pursued both. And she said, someday go out and have a career, and someday come back to state government and bring all of your expertise back to it. But there's so much out there that you can learn, and go out and see the world. So I took that advice, and I did pursue a political science major in addition to accounting. And then I kind of think back to that day when the governor's campaign, or the transition team called me and said, hey, would you be interested in serving as the Secretary of the Department of Financial Institutions? And kind of that whole story played back in my mind. And I looked into it because it really wasn't on my radar at that point in time. I was really enjoying the job that I had. And I looked, and it said, credit unions and banks. And banks I've really worked so closely with in my 35 years of professional experience. I mean, I've relied on them, I've consulted with them, I've partnered on them. I mean, I couldn't have had the kind of business success without the capital and payment processing and all the things that banks have provided. I worked in our securities area. It's charitable contribution, or charitable organizations, which I was doing at TASC, and financial literacy, which is something I've always had a passion for, and I think even shared that and passed that along to my children. So when I looked at everything in the organization, I kind of like, wow, this is really stitching together all the things that I've done in my career And so I was really, really honored and really excited to be able to join Governor Evers' cabinet and serve as the secretary in this department.
I want to take a bit of a right turn, actually, and ask you about your favorite non-work interests. What do you like to do when you're not, I guess, in this building now?
So anyone that knows me would answer tennis. So tennis I've been playing since I was 10 years old. My dad taught me how to play, and it's just my passion. I probably play on a slow week 5 times a week, and on a good week probably 7 or 8 times. And for me, it's just my stress relief. And my kids play. My husband will play if I course him a little bit. But we enjoy tennis a lot as a family, and it's been a big part of my social community as well. I also, as I say, bleed red for the Badgers, so a big, big Badger fan. Our family loves to travel, love to read, love to really community service. I've sat on a lot of boards and done a lot of volunteer work, and I call that kind of like free fuel, if you will, because it's really nice to be able to give to your community, and I often find that I receive what I feel like is way more than I give. So right now I'm very active in the Unity Point Meriter Board and also on campus at UW-Hillel. So I serve on both of those boards.
Do you have a favorite tennis court in Madison?
My favorite place to play tennis is John Powless Tennis Center, which you can usually find me at in the mornings. And I'm an early riser and love to play there. And John Powless, who's #1 in the world for the over 80 group, is one of my mentors, and I'm fortunate enough to get to play with him every week.
Very, very cool. Now I kind of want to transition. We have 3 questions that we've prepared for every single.
Sure.
They're all the same questions, but the first one I want to ask you is, you kind of touched at this earlier, but why did you have an interest in joining the Evers administration? So first of all,
I am so inspired by Governor Evers. I think our values are very aligned. So I really, when I look at, I think most everyone in the world is frustrated right now by the divided nature of our country. And I look at Governor Evers as someone that really focuses on bringing people back together and finding common ground.